You'll need a book with a little bit of weight. It could be just a children's book, not too much weight, or you could have like an art book. Start newly, freshly, and sitting. Just check in with your sitting now. How is your sitting? And you can also check in a little bit with the turning and sitting and see how this is in this new, fresh moment and what you're aware of as you do the turning. Okay. And then a little bit, bring attention to one of your shoulders and move your shoulder a little forward and a little back. Just a small, tiny movement of your shoulder, a little forward, a little back. You might feel little skips and bumps, and maybe it's not an exactly smooth path forward and back, no problem. But make it easy, make it light, just a little back and forth. If you find it's more difficult to go in one of the directions, then you don't go so far that way. Just find a little back and forth. And kind of curiosity, like, oh yeah, that direction's easier, that direction not so much. Okay, pause. Other shoulder, little tiny bit forward, tiny bit back. What's different about this side? Okay, let that go. And then make a couple movements, or you just round your whole back and you tilt your pelvis, and then you a little bit look up and you arch your back and just go back and forth. Rounding and arching. You can use your hands to help you feel that you're doing that movement or not. A little bit going backwards, the head going down, and a little coming forward. So you have those possibilities of the spine bending one way and bending the other way. Okay. So now we'll get to this interesting thing about the book. If you have a few options, that's good. If not, you make do with what you have. So the idea here is that we're going to put the book on a hand. So if you have a few options, you might feel like, oh, this is so light, this children's book, oh, maybe I could use a little more weight. But, oh, maybe this is too heavy, so I'm going to go with the lighter book. So whatever could be, the idea is that you have your arm more or less at a right angle. You have the forearm forward. If this is like even too much weight for you, you could do it, with something even lighter. So you want to feel, oh yeah, there's some weight, but it's not too heavy for me. So maybe you like a little, you enjoy the weight, you can. So then have your book here flat on your hand, and then take your shoulder a little forward and backwards. And if you do it and you're like, actually, you know what? I'm being a little too ambitious, I'm going to go lighter. I would err on the side of being gentle with yourself, and you can always build up later. So you want to have a little weight, not too much weight. Shoulder forward and back without taking the book forward and back. So you're stabilizing here. And you can feel what that's like, the possibility to take the shoulder forward and back and then put that down. So there's a lot of use of threes in Jeremy Krauss Approach, and it's just super generative creatively for me as a teacher, and also just in my life in other ways as well. So if you think of we have this position of the arm, and then if we were going to make 3 positions out of it, it could be that you take the arm 1, 2, 3. But I think for this purpose, we're on Zoom, everybody's in different places. Let's make it super small. So you have your neutral place, and then forward, instead of being way far forward, would just be taking your elbow a little forward, but it's still next to your ribs. So you would say, oh yeah, it's a little forward, but not too far forward. And then from there, take your shoulder forward and back a few times. Nothing uncomfortable. And now take your elbow backwards. So your third position of the elbow, you'll feel that's going to start your shoulder in a different place. And then now take your shoulder forward and back. Okay. Put the book down, pause, and just you can sense the length of your arms. You can rest them long like this, or you can rest them on your thighs, and just compare the two shoulders. And then turn to look in the direction that you were just moving. See what happens to the shoulder as you turn, and then turn the other way. So it's so funny, so fun, and we're so changeable. We're so changeable. It's amazing. Okay, so you feel a difference on the two sides. Kind of fun, right? So let's try it on the other side. So you can just check in a little bit with one shoulder going forward and back. See, also did that movement change. And then the other shoulder a little forward and back, okay? Then your new side, hold on to your book. I would make it, whatever you did on the first side, just do symmetrical. Like if you did one variation with the heavier book and then you went to the lighter book, maybe make it symmetrical or adapt that if you need to. So you start with you're going to have 3 places. So start with your neutral place, more or less with your arm down at a right angle, but if it needs to be different for you, that's fine. And then you keep it there and you take your shoulder forward and back. I was enjoying a little bit the lighter book, but I'd liked a couple variations with the heavier book. That could be a whole lesson where you go between the lighter and the heavier. Okay, pause for a moment. Take the book, same hand, and just go a little forward. Not so far forward, but just slide your elbow so you're still touching the ribs, but you're a little more forward. Keep the book there, and now take your shoulder forward and back. And then slide your elbow backwards, maintain the book there, and take your shoulder forward and back. If you start running into discomfort or things that are not so good for you, do less repetitions, or maybe you find maybe it's like a different angle somehow that you're curious about. Okay, put that down, pause, and then turn to look one way. Like, wow. And the other way, okay. All right, good. You sense your two sides. Notice your breathing, where you sense your breath moves after this. So let's do one more variation on each side. We'll switch over to the other side to give each one a break. And take your book, have it handy. Just check in a few times with this rounding and arching movement. See how this goes through your spine and how your whole pelvis, head, everything, shoulders participate. Is anything different in this movement for you? Okay, and then take your book, put it on your hand, and you choose where you want. We won't do the 3 positions right now of the elbow, but you just choose where you want it. Maybe it was interesting to have the elbow a little back. That's fine, or maybe you like it down by the side. And then can you maintain the book there, and you just a little bit begin to make this movement of rounding everything down, and you arching, but you keep the book where it is. So you don't take the book up and down with you. You see, can you maintain it? And what do you have to do to keep it in place? And then stay looking down, stay rounded a little bit, and then just take your shoulder forward and back here a couple times, small. And then look up and arch your back a little bit. Different position of the spine and the head and the pelvis. And then a few times take your shoulder forward and back in this position. And then go back and forth between the whole rounding and the arching, maintaining the position. And then put that down and see what that's like. Just first in the stillness, a sense all through that whole side, maybe even down to the belly, the chest, the collarbone, the breath. And turn to look that way. See what that's like. Okay, pause. And then take your book on your other hand. And you maintain the book wherever you want to have it. And a little bit you make this rounding and the arching, keeping the book where it is. Good. And then you stay in one of those shapes and then make a few movements with the shoulder. And then go to the other shape. Few movements, maintaining the book. And then you maintain the book and you just keep with the rounding and the arching, seeing if you can keep the book where it is. If it moves a little bit, no big deal. All right, that's good. And sit, check in with your sitting. And your breath. Turn in that same direction of the arm that you were working with. Huh. So cool. Go one way, can go the other way. You can check in with the rounding and the arching also. See if something in this area of the chest, the upper back, the shoulders somehow are more available for participating. And then how does that influence the whole movement? Okay, good. And then just check in with your hinging, hinge forward. See what happens when you do that. Just try it over one leg or the other leg or just the middle. And then last thing is just very simply check in a little bit with the movement of the shoulder forward and back and see, is there any change in the smoothness of that or possibility of it? And the other one, or ability to separate your shoulder from your ribs a little bit. Okay, good enough. Come stand. And see what the standing is like. Wow, like it's always so surprising, you know, these like, it's like Alice in Wonderland a little bit, like, wow, I feel tall, I feel up, but what do you feel? How do your arms hang? You can also check in with the turning. Yeah, when we started out the whole thing, I could turn to the left, but I didn't, there wasn't so much this ability to shift my weight to the right leg and the right hip going back, and something up here just was not happening before. So cool. So walk around and see what comes to your attention in the walking now. I like this combination of the two books that I have. I have one that's The Beautiful Brain. That's Santiago Ramon y Cajal. This is like cells, beautiful brain. That and Oh, the Places You'll Go, Dr. Seuss. It's like a nice combination, right? Feel more easy, grace, oxygen-y. Yeah. Nice. More clear on preferences. Yeah. Feeling more confident. Nice. Felt like I was waltzing and I can't waltz. Nice. I'm using the beautiful brain book. What synchronicity? How cool is that? More fluid walk, easy stride. Felt more on top of myself. Stable. Yay.